my beautiful friends, and welcome back to my channel. This is Nova Gnome Creations, and I'm Nova, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make my pocket peen gnome, or the PP gnome for short. You're going to need 3 colors at minimum of yarn. You're going to want a color for the body, a color for the beard, and a color for the hat. Now, the body does have the peen itself, the balls, and the nose, so you may want more than one color. You're also going to want a hook that corresponds to the size of yarn you're using. I recommend going down 1 or 2 sizes from the ball band recommendation, so I'm using a 3.5mm hook with a worsted weight 4 yarn. You're also just going to want your basic things like scissors, a stitch marker, a darning needle, and polyfill. And the first thing we're going to start with is making the peen. So go ahead and grab whatever color yarn you'd like to use for that and your hook. We're going to start out by making a magic circle. And if you need a little extra help with how to make a magic circle, I do have a tutorial just for the magic circle walking you through how to make it, and I will link that in the description box below. But we are going to start with a magic circle, or, if you prefer to do the chain method, you can always do that. I prefer magic circle just because it makes a tighter closed hole. But go ahead and get that on your hook. And once you've got that magic circle, we are going to be doing some single crochets into it. Now, just a little reminder that when you work a magic circle, you do crochet over the side of the circle and the tail. You're going to go ahead and work 6 single crochets into the magic circle, just kind of holding on to that tail there and holding it with it. That's really important because that is how we are going to close up our magic circle here in a moment. So go ahead and get those 6 single crochets into your magic circle, and then we are going to tug on this magic circle tail. We aren't going to pull on it hard just yet. We don't want to close the circle really tightly yet so that we can still get into that first single crochet. It can be a little difficult to get into if you pull your circle really tightly closed. So go ahead and get into that first single crochet and place a single crochet. And then after you've done that, go ahead and place a second single crochet in the same stitch, which is known as an increase stitch. And then we're going to go ahead and pull on our tail and just go ahead and tighten up that circle now. And after you've tightened up your circle nicely, go ahead and place a stitch marker into that first single crochet that we just made. Remember, we made 2 in the same stitch. Make sure that you mark the first one. That is going to be the first stitch of the round. Now we are just going to do an increase stitch into each single crochet, which means we're going to put 2 single crochets into each single crochet that we have. So we had 6 single crochets in our first round, and by the end of this round we will have 12 because we are increasing in each stitch. So just go ahead and work your way around your circle, placing 2 single crochets into each single crochet that you have. And once you get back to your stitch marker, that means that you are at the end of the round. We're going to be placing an increase into that stitch as well. And that is going to leave us with 12 stitches for the round. Now the stitch marker is going to mark the beginning of the round for our whole project. So we're always going to take that out, place our first single crochet, and then replace it back in as our first stitch of the round. Now for this round, we are just going to be doing single crochets. We're not going to be increasing or anything fancy, just placing a single crochet into every single crochet all the way around until we get back to that stitch marker. That means that we are going to start our round with 12 stitches and we are going to end our round with 12 stitches. And what I mean by that is in between the stitch marker, going from the stitch marker and then all the way back around to the stitch marker, there are 12 stitches in total for the round. Alright, and then as we reach our stitch marker again, we're just going to pop it out, and we are going to place a single crochet into that first stitch. After you've placed your first single crochet of the round into that stitch, you can replace your stitch marker. At this point, your work is going to start to cup. Make sure that you direct it so that the magic circle tail is on the inside of your work, so kind of cupping up around it. That is going to put the inside of your stitches on the inside of your work and the outside of your stitches on the outside of your work. So in this second single crochet, you're going to go ahead and place an increase. So place 2 single crochets in the same stitch. That's going to be the repeat for the round. So you're just going to, all the way around till you get back to your stitch marker, do a single crochet, and then in the next stitch do an increase, which is 2 single crochets. And you're just going to repeat that. So you're going to go single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. And that is going to take you from 12 stitches in the round at the beginning to 18 by the time you get to the end. So you're repeating the single crochet and then increase 6 times, and that'll bring you back to your stitch marker. And you know that you're doing that right if when you get to that stitch marker, that last stitch that you work into, you're ending on an increase. That'll give you a good inkling that you've done it right. You should be increasing on that final stitch of the round. So it should be looking a little something like this. And you can go ahead and remove your stitch marker and place that single crochet, and then replace your stitch marker. Now for round 5, you're just going to be doing single crochets. So nothing fancy this round, just placing a single crochet into every stitch all the way around. You're going to start the round with 18 stitches and you are going to end the round with 18 stitches. And like I said, keep that magic circle tail in the inside of your work. That'll help you to know that you have it facing the right way. And you can just kind of shove that down in there as you're crocheting if it's in your way, because it just adds to the stuffing, you know? No need to really weave it in or anything. It's going to be on the inside of your crochet. So just go ahead and single crochet your way all the way around until you get back to your stitch marker, and that will be round 5, and you will have 18 stitches when you get to the end. And as you make your way to that stitch marker and you end your round, you can go ahead and pop that stitch marker out and place your first single crochet of the round, and then replace your stitch marker. So for this round, we are going to be doing a single crochet, which is what we just did, and we're replacing our stitch marker. Then you're going to do another single crochet into the next stitch. And then in that third stitch, you're going to be doing an increase. Remember, that means that you're going to be placing 2 single crochets into the same stitch. So here is me going into that third stitch and placing that increase. That is going to be your repeat for this round. So that just means you're going to follow that sequence again. Single crochet and single crochet and then increase. And that is going to be what you repeat. You're going to repeat that 6 times, single crochet, increase. By the time you get to the end of the round, you should have 24 stitches. And same as before, you'll know that you're on the right track if you're ending in that last stitch and you are on an increase, because you should be on an increase after doing your little sequence of 6 times of repeating that. All right, and as you get back to that stitch marker, you can go ahead and pop it out. Put that single crochet in there and replace it. For round 7 here, we are just going to be doing single crochets all the way around. So you're going to single crochet into each stitch, and you are going to have 24 stitches at the beginning of the round, and you will still have 24 stitches at the end of the round, because we're not adding any extra stitches or taking away any, just straight up single crochet. So go ahead and single crochet all the way back until you get to that stitch marker, and then we are going to be doing something a little bit different to start to shape our work. All right, so for the next round, you might want a second stitch marker to mark your back loops. If you would like to grab a second stitch marker, go ahead and pause and do that real quick. So we are going to be working in the front loops only, doing half double crochets. So here is the front loop only, and that just means you're only working under that front loop. You're not going through the whole top of the stitch. And we're going to do that all the way around. Don't worry, I will show you again how to do a half double crochet, just in case you need a little reminder. But go ahead and place that stitch marker into your first stitch. We're going to be working in the front loop only. We're going to yarn over and then go through that front loop. Then we're going to yarn over our hook again and pull that through. That's going to put 3 loops on our hook, and we're just going to pull through all 3. And that's how you do a half double crochet. So you're going to do 10 half double crochets in the front loop only. Don't forget, if you need to slow this video down or rewind, you can always do that. You can slow the video down by clicking the little gear icon in the corner of your screen and adjusting the playback speed. So if you need this to go a little bit slower, then that is how you adjust it. So you're going to do 10 half double crochets in the front loop only. You're going to see this ridge start to form on the inside. If you would like to mark that first ridge, that first back loop only that we did not work in, go ahead and do that. That way you know where it is a little easier if you're not sure if you'll be able to tell when we get back all the way around, because we will work the next round in the back loops. All right, so when you get done with your 10 half double crochets, we are just going to work a single crochet also into the front loop only. And then we are going to do something called a spike stitch, which is going to be a little bit different than what I have shown you so far. So for the spike stitch, we are actually going to go down and work where I'm showing you right now, where this little red darning needle is. You're going to put your hook through there and then pull up a loop just like you would for a normal single crochet. That's actually what we're working, is a single crochet. You're just single crocheting through this spot 2 rows back. So that is what the spike stitch looks like. We're going to put 2 spike stitches in the same spot. So you'll notice the spot that we're working into is actually an increase in that row 2 rounds back. So you're working 2 spike single crochets down to it. Now, just to make sure that you skip those stitches that you worked over when you were doing the spike stitches, I recommend counting back from your stitch marker 11 stitches, because then you'll know that's the stitch that you want to work into, and then you don't accidentally work into one of the ones your spike stitch should be covering. So you're going to work a single crochet in the front loop only, and then you're going to do 10 half double crochets in the front loop only. And that's what you're going to do, and that's going to get you back to your stitch marker. So like I said, I recommend counting back from your stitch marker those 11 stitches, and then you'll know that 11th stitch from your stitch marker is the one that you place that single crochet into, and that'll just help to make sure that you skip those 2 stitches that you spiked down over, and then you won't accidentally throw off your stitch count. So go ahead and work those 10 half double crochets in the front loop only. And then when you get back to your stitch marker, we are going to be working in the back loop only for the next round. So that's why I said you might want a second stitch marker. You might want to mark the first back loop only that we had for that last round that we did, because if you aren't used to looking for them, you might struggle to see exactly where you're working the next round. But you'll have this really nice ridge that formed inside that's super easy to see, honestly, and that is going to be where we work the next round. So you see this ridge that's on the inside? Those are your back loops that you didn't work into. So this stitch marker is not where we're going to be crocheting. It's going to be if you placed that second one there, but if you didn't, I'll show you real quick where that back loop is. That first back loop, it can be a little sneaky, a little hidden there. So just make sure you don't miss that back loop. But we are going to be going in the back loops all the way around. And they're pretty easy to see, like I said, because they did form that ridge. And then we are just going to be single crocheting for most of this into those back loop onlys. So we're single crocheting all the way around. We're going to single crochet into the back loop onlys. And make sure that you mark your first stitch when you single crochet into that back loop. And then we are going to do something a little bit different when we get to the spike stitches. We are not going to have back loops when we get to the spike stitches. So we will just do a back loop only single crochet onto the regular single crochet. And don't worry, I will show you what I'm talking about when we get there. So you're going to be placing 11 single crochets before we get to the spike stitches. So 11 single crochets in these back loop onlys. And like I said before, you can just kind of shove that magic circle tail down in there. And that was what I was just doing, was just kind of shoving it down in there out of my way. Trying to show you guys here where these back loop onlys are. So kind of trying to push the rest of the crochet out of the way. Hopefully you can see pretty well. But it's just this little ridge. You're just working single crochets into it just like you normally would. And you're going to have 11 single crochets. And that's going to be the amount you do to get you to the spike stitches that we did. And then when we get to those spike stitches, you're going to work a back loop only still, but you're just going to work it on the actual spike stitch itself. So the back loop only is that stitch that's closer to the inside of your work, not the one that's closest to you. That's your front loop. So you're going to want to work just that back loop only on the 2 stitches that we did for the spike stitch. So I'm finishing up my regular back loop onlys, and I'm getting to that spike stitch now. This is what it should be looking like. So we're kind of forming a second row inside. And like I said, this should be 11 single crochets. So if you want to stop and count it before we start working into those spike stitches, just to make sure, go for it. And then this right here is the back loop. And you're just going to work your single crochets into the back loop on these 2 spike stitches. And then you'll just go back down and continue to work in that little ridge of back loop onlys from the last round. So just a little bit different, just a little bit, you know, weird. And this is just for the shaping, because this is going to get you the head of the peen. And you should have 11 stitches again after the spike stitches. If you want to be counting them, you can. But you're just going to go back down to that back loop only ridge, and you're going to work into that and do those 11 single crochets. And you're going to do that until you get back to your stitch marker. You're still going to have 24 stitches for this round. You've had 24 stitches for the last several rounds because we haven't been adding or taking away anything. We've just been doing a little bit of, you know, different types of stitches to get the shaping that we want. And yay, you did it! That was the most complicated part of the whole project, guys. So you've successfully completed that. Now we're just going to be working a single crochet into the first stitch that you have that stitch marker in. So just a normal single crochet, nothing fancy. And then you're going to work a second single crochet, and then you're going to do a decrease. I like to do an invisible decrease, which is where you grab the front loops only of the next 2 stitches. You don't pull up a loop or anything. You just go through the 2 next front loops. So let me show you real quick. Here's your front loop. And then you go straight to the next stitch and you grab that front loop again. So you have 2 loops over your hook right now. Then you yarn over and you pull through both of those. Yarn over, pull through the 2 loops on your hook. So it's what's known as an invisible decrease. You're gonna do 2 single crochets and then a decrease. That's gonna be your repeat all the way around. You are welcome to do a regular decrease if you are not comfortable doing an invisible decrease. It's just a preference that I prefer how the invisible decrease looks for amigurumi. But if you would rather just do a regular decrease, you are welcome to do that. And do 2 single crochets and then a decrease all the way around. That's going to take you from 24 stitches to 18 stitches. So you're going to do single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease. And you'll be doing that 6 times. All right, and that was round 10. You're ending that round with 18 stitches. Now you can go ahead and place your first single crochet of the next round and replace your stitch marker. I just went ahead and placed 2 single crochets. You're just going to be doing single crochets now. So you're going to single crochet all the way around, just from your stitch marker all the way back to your stitch marker. So 18 single crochets, since that's how many stitches we have. But you're going to do that 3 times. So you're going to do 3 rounds of single crochets. So single crochet 18 times all the way around till you get back to your stitch marker. Single crochet 18 times till you get back to your stitch marker, and then single crochet 18 times until you get back to your stitch marker. Once you've done those 3 rounds of single crochets, meet me back. And after those 3 rounds of single crochets, you should be looking a little something like this. You should have 18 stitches still. Go ahead and pop your stitch marker out and place that single crochet for your first stitch of your next round, and replace your stitch marker back into there. We are going to be doing a single crochet, and then we're going to do a single crochet into the next stitch. And then in the 3rd stitch, we are actually going to place an increase. So place 2 single crochets into that same stitch. And this is going to be the repeat for the round. So you're just going to do 2 single crochets and then an increase. 2 single crochets and then an increase. You're going to repeat that around 6 times, that little sequence of 2 single crochets and then an increase, and that is going to put you back at 24 stitches all the way around. So go ahead and do that, and when you get to that last stitch, right before your stitch marker, you should be on an increase stitch. That'll tell you that you're kind of on the right path. And once you get back to your stitch marker and you've done those stitches, you'll have 24 stitches all the way around. You go ahead and pop out that stitch marker, place your single crochet, and replace your stitch marker. We're going to be doing some more single crochet only rounds. So you're going to single crochet all the way around till you get back to that stitch marker. You're going to start the round with 24 stitches and you're going to end the round with 24 stitches still. You are actually going to go around for 4 stitches. Or 4 rounds, I'm sorry. So you're going to go around from your stitch marker back to your stitch marker 4 times. So single crochet 24, single crochet 24, single crochet 24, and single crochet 24. That'll give you your 4 rounds of single crochets, and you can feel free to start stuffing with polyfill at this point if you would like to. But after your 4 rounds, this is what you should be looking like. You can go ahead and pop out that stitch marker, and we are going to just start to decrease and close it up. If you would like to make yours longer, you are always welcome to add more rounds and kind of modify it and play with it however you'd like to, though. But for mine, I am doing just a little pocket peen, so this one is going to be short. We are going to be doing 2 single crochets and then a decrease for this round. So I'm here doing my 2 single crochets and then doing my invisible decrease that I prefer. But like I said, same as before, you can do any type of decrease that you like. If you feel more comfortable with a different style of decreasing, that is totally fine. I just prefer the way that the invisible decrease looks on my project. So you're going to go ahead and repeat that, 2 single crochets and then a decrease, 2 single crochets and then a decrease, 2 single crochets and then a decrease. You'll be repeating that 6 times, and that's going to take you from 24 stitches in your round to 18 stitches in your round. And like I said, feel free to start stuffing with polyfill as you go if you would like to. We are getting here to the last couple of rounds, so do however you prefer to start your stuffing. I'm going to kind of wait till the last minute and start stuffing. I don't like the way that polyfill gets in my way when I'm crocheting, so I usually try to kind of wait till the last minute, but you are welcome to begin stuffing now. And then you can obviously continue to add stuffing as we are closing up our project. And I'm coming to the end of my round 19 right now, and like I said, you should have 18 stitches when you get to the end of this round. I'm just going to pull up on my yarn here and go ahead and pop out that stitch marker. I know that when I start crocheting again, that next stitch is the first round, or the first stitch of the round, and I'm going to go ahead and throw some polyfill in here. So you may have already started adding polyfill to it. I'm just starting now. Whatever your preference is. This isn't a very long project, like physically long, so I can reach to the bottom of it easily, even just with my fingers. But if you prefer, you can always use your polyfill stuffing stick that sometimes comes with polyfill. Mine always comes with it, but I've had a few people say that theirs doesn't. So I will show you throughout this tutorial like a few different other options, but using like a pencil, the eraser end is really great to stuff down into projects. You can just use the back end of your crochet hook if you have a small spot you're trying to work into. But like I said, I will show you a few different options as we progress in this tutorial, just so that you kind of have an idea of how to fit the polyfill into those small spaces. But as I'm adding my polyfill to here, I'm just trying to kind of keep an eye on the way it's shaping up. I want it to be kind of firm, you know, to hold its shape, but I also want to make sure I stuff it evenly. So I'm just kind of fluffing the polyfill up with my hands before I put it in, make sure there's no lumps in it, and then I'm putting it in there and kind of directing it around to make it the shape that I want it to be. And that's all you're going to do. Of course, you can kind of massage the outside of your project after you finish up your project if you need to kind of manipulate where the polyfill is sitting and, you know, smooth out any unevenness. But for the most part, you want to try to kind of have it how you want it before you close it up. So just take a moment, kind of spin your project around and you know, get an idea of if it's looking how you want it to, and adjust where your polyfill is. Work with small pieces of polyfill at a time and not a really big chunk of polyfill. It'll make it easier for you to shape it how you want to shape it. And once you're happy with that, you can just go ahead and pop your stitch mark or your hook back in and tighten that yarn back up. This first stitch is going to be the first stitch of the round, so we're going to place a single crochet, and then we're going to replace our stitch marker. I had only popped it out because I knew that this next stitch was the first stitch of the round, and I didn't want my polyfill to get stuck on my stitch marker. So we're going to do a single crochet, and then we're going to do a decrease, and that's going to be the repeat for this round. So you're going to do a single crochet, which we just did, and then you're going to do a decrease, and you are going to do that 6 times. So that is going to take you from 18 stitches all the way around just to 12. So we're really starting to cinch up here. At this point, if you haven't started stuffing, I would recommend starting your stuffing. And you don't have to stuff with polyfill. You can stuff with yarn scraps or whatever your preferred method of stuffing your project is. So go ahead and do that repeat of single crochet, decrease, all the way back until you get to your stitch marker, and then we will finish up our project. All right, and as you get to that stitch marker, you should have 12 stitches all the way around. We are only having one more round left on the peen itself, so you should be on round 20. We're going to be going on to round 21 here. You can make sure that you've got that stuffing how you want it now, and as you continue to close up this hole. We are going to be doing a round of decreases now, just straight up decreases. So go ahead and pop that stitch marker out, and you are going to be doing 6 decreases. That's how many you'll need to do to work all the way around your round, and that's going to take you from 12 stitches to 6 stitches in your round. So go ahead and place that first decrease and then put your stitch marker back into it, just so you know that was your first decrease. When you get back to it, you should be done with your decreases. And then you're just going to keep placing those decreases. That's really going to start to cinch this up, and then I will show you how to close the hole completely after you're done doing your decreases. Like I said, make sure that once you've got these decreases, you've got it stuffed the appropriate amount that you want it to be stuffed. Even after these decreases, you will still have a little hole that you can work into with your polyfill. And there is the first part of your project finished. We're just going to be closing it up. So you can go ahead and pop your stitch marker out of there and cut your yarn. Leave yourself a little bit of a tail to finish off closing up this hole with. And then you can just pull up on your yarn. You don't need to have a loop on there anymore. And then you have this little hole left. So if you need to add any more stuffing, just kind of feel it out, flip it around, see if you feel like you need a little bit more solidity added to it, to your preference. You can add a little bit more polyfill here, and then I'm just going to show you what I was talking about. When you're working into a small spot like this, your finger doesn't necessarily fit. So here's me just showing you, hey, you can use a pen. You can use the back end of your crochet hook. You can use whatever you have. Now, my polyfill comes with basically a little stick, kind of looks like a chopstick. That is what I usually use, but I actually have found that pencils, just regular pencils, not mechanical, with the eraser end, actually work probably the best out of anything I've used. But you can use anything you have laying around. And that'll be a good way to just get that little bit of polyfill into the end of your project when you've got that really small hole that you can't even fit your finger into. Okay, so once you're happy with your polyfill, the next step is going to be to grab your darning needle. You're going to put your yarn onto your darning needle, and we are going to close up that hole. Now, the way that we close up that hole is we have 6 stitches all the way around here. So we're going to be going through 6 front loop onlys. So you see here, I'm counting it out okay, there are 6. So this is my first one. I'm going under just that front loop that I've shown you guys a few times now. You're just going to go under that front loop all the way around. Don't pull super tight. Just pull tight enough that, your yarn is pulled through. Don't cinch it yet, though. And you're going to go all the way around into that front loop for each of those 6 stitches. So that's going to get you, all the way back to where you started. Then you can pull on that yarn and cinch it up really nice, and it'll close that hole right up. So here is my final stitch going through that front loop only. And then I'm going to pull on my yarn and cinch it closed. Just like that. Then you're just going to weave your tail back and forth a few times. That way you have it kind of all locked into place. That's the nice thing about amigurumi. It's really easy to weave in your tail. So just go in somewhere close to where you are sticking out and just kind of weave it back and forth. There's really no rhyme or reason to this. Nothing specific that you need to do. Just go somewhere close to where you're popping out with your yarn and then go back in and come out somewhere else. And you can just do that a few times until you feel like, you're comfortable with the amount of security that you have there, weaving it back and forth. Pop out somewhere kind of far away, and then you can just trim that yarn right up to the body of your crochet. And then massage your crochet a little bit in that spot that it came out. If it's sticking out a little bit still, it'll just kind of suck it right back in. So here's me cutting it, and then I'll show you what I mean. Just kind of give it a little squeeze, and it'll kind of hide that tail. If it's still sticking out, it'll pull it right back in. But there you go. You finished the first part of your pocket peen. You've got the peen done. The next step is going to be to make the balls. So we are going to make 2 balls. You're going to start out by making a magic circle. Same as before, if you need a little extra help, that tutorial is in the description box below this video. Once you've got that magic circle on your hook, we are going to work 6 single crochets into our magic circle. So holding that tail along with your magic circle itself and making sure you work over both. That way when we get done putting our single crochets in, we can cinch it up. Place your 6 single crochets in, and that is going to be our first round. Alright, and once you've got those 6 single crochets, go ahead and grab your little tail here and cinch it up, but don't cinch it up super tight just yet. That way you can get into this first stitch and place your single crochet. We're going to actually place 2 single crochets in this same stitch again, just like we did with the peen. We're placing an increase stitch into this first stitch. Then you can go ahead and tighten up that circle the rest of the way. You can tighten it up as you go if it gets loose, until you're comfy with it. And go ahead and place that stitch marker back, but make sure you put it in the first stitch because we did just put 2 stitches into that one stitch. So make sure you mark your first one. We're just going to increase all the way around. So you're going to place 2 single crochets into each stitch all the way around. And that is going to take you from 6 single crochets that you had from round 1 to 12 single crochets in total when you get back to the end of this round for round 2. Now that you've made your way back around, go ahead and put those last stitches into your final stitch, and then you can take out that stitch marker and place your first single crochet of the round. Like I said, feel free to tighten your pull on your magic circle tail at any point if you feel like it's not tight enough. If you pull on it like a pretty good amount, like give it a nice solid tug, you'll kind of feel it snap into place usually, and then you'll be like, okay, now it's good. But go ahead and place that single crochet into there and put your stitch marker back into it. For round 3, we are going to be doing a single crochet, which is what we just did. And then in the second stitch, we are going to be doing an increase. So you're going to be placing 2 stitches into this same stitch. That's going to be the repeat for the round. So you are going to do a single crochet and then an increase, a single crochet and then an increase. And you're going to repeat that 6 times until you get, and that's going to take you back to your stitch marker. The last stitch of your round is going to be an increase. So if you end on an increase when you get back to that stitch marker, you'll know you're on the right path. You should have 12 stitches at the beginning of the round, and then when you get to that stitch marker, you should have 18 stitches. So go ahead and do that repeat until you get to your stitch marker. You should have 18 stitches, and that will be round 3. And once you've got that round done, you've got your 18 stitches, we are just going to be doing single crochets. So you can go ahead and you can do 2 rounds of single crochets. That's going to be 18 stitches around and then 18 stitches around again, just single crocheting into each stitch. Nothing fancy, no increases, no decreases, and you will remain having 18 stitches at the end of doing those 2 rounds. So go ahead and do round 4 and 5, and then I will meet you back and tell you what to do next. Believe it or not, for round 6, you're already starting to decrease. So we are going to place a single crochet into this first stitch and replace our stitch marker. And then you are going to do a decrease for the next stitch. So as before, I prefer to do the invisible decrease that I showed you guys. You're welcome to do any decrease that you like. This is going to be the repeat for the round. So you're just going to do a single crochet and then a decrease. Single crochet and then a decrease. Single crochet and then a decrease. And you are going to be repeating that 6 times. That's going to take you from 18 stitches down to 12. So when you get back to your stitch marker, you'll be ending on a decrease for your final stitch, and you should have 12 stitches all the way around. And also, same as before, feel free to tuck in that tail as you're going. That's just going to add to your stuffing. And then when you feel like you want to start stuffing it, you can go ahead. This is actually the second to last round for the ball, so you can feel free to add stuffing now or at the end of this round. That's when I went ahead and added my stuffing. And there you have it. And as you get to this final decrease, you will have 12 stitches, and it'll be looking a little something like this. Go ahead and pop that stitch marker out of there, and you can get your polyfill if you would like to, and just stuff it. It won't take very much stuffing for this part, just a little tuft basically. This would be a really good part to stuff with yarn scraps. And what I mean by yarn scraps, by the way, is when you're making amigurumi and things like that, you get a lot of like little clippings of yarn, and I save those sometimes to put into small things, or you can put it in bigger things and even mix it with your polyfill if you want to. But like especially little like ball-sized things, perfect for yarn scraps. But once you get that stuffed in there the way that you'd like it to be, we are just going to do a straight up decrease round. So this is going to be round 7, the final round of the ball, and you're going to be doing 6 decreases. And that is going to take you down to 6 stitches. So go ahead and pop that decrease in there and replace your stitch marker, and then just continue to decrease around. Like I said, you're going to do that 6 times, and then you will have 6 stitches. Once you've got that final round finished, you'll just have 6 single crochets or 6 stitches. They were decreases. And you can go ahead and pop out that stitch marker. We are done crocheting on this. Cut yourself a long enough tail to sew it onto the peen if you're going to be sewing it on. And in general, just to close it up, you're going to want a little bit of a tail. And then you can go ahead and check to see if this is stuffed as much as you'd want. You know, kind of feel it, kind of check it out, look at it. Is it like a nice circle? Do you need to adjust your stuffing a little bit? Do you want to add a tiny bit in? If you're good with it though, go ahead and thread your yarn onto your darning needle, and we're going to close up the ball. We're going to close this up the same way that I showed you before. You're just going to be grabbing those front loops. I'm just going to grab several at a time, you know, kind of scoop my way around. Since I already showed you how to do this, I'm not going to go slow one at a time. But this is also, you know, a faster way of doing it if you wanted to see this. I just kind of, you know, wiggle my needle into the next front loop, and I just grab 3 at a time. So then, boom, I already did it. So you can go ahead and pull on that, you know, weave it around a little bit the same way I showed you already until that you're happy with the way that that tail is woven in. Like I said, you are going to want to leave yourself a tail for sewing this onto the peen unless you're gluing it on. If you're using like hot glue or something, then you can actually, you know, weave this in as much as you want and cut it the way that I had shown you before. But otherwise, leave your tail there so that when we get to the step of attaching it to the peen, you've got your tail already there to sew it on with. You're going to want to make 2 of these, by the way, so go ahead and, you know, rewind back and watch this part again to make your second one, or if you remember how to do it, just do it and meet me back. Alright, and the next thing that we've got is going to be the nose, which is going to be really similar to what we were just doing. It's just a little bit smaller of a circle than the balls that we just made, but you're going to start out with a magic circle. And it's going to basically feel very similar to what we just did, but it is a little bit different. You go ahead and place those 6 single crochets into your magic circle, and that is going to be round 1. And then go ahead and cinch that up. Don't pull it super tight yet. and put your first single crochet into the first single crochet that we had made. You're going to go ahead and actually place 2 into it. It's going to be an increase, and then you can replace your stitch marker or place your stitch marker into the first stitch that we made. You can go ahead and pull on that tail and tighten that up. And then this is going to be an increase round, so you're going to go from 6 stitches to 12 by the time you get back to your stitch marker. You're just going to be putting an increase into each stitch. So 2 single crochets into each stitch all the way around. Once you've got those increases done and you have your 12 stitches, we are going to move on to rounds 3 through 5. So we're going to be doing 3 rounds of just single crochets. So go ahead and pop that stitch marker out and place a single crochet in there. And then you can replace your stitch marker. You're going to be doing single crochets all the way around, which is going to be 12 single crochets. So starting at that stitch marker all the way around, that's 12 single crochets. You're just going to repeat that 3 times. So do 12 single crochets till you get back to that stitch marker, do 12 single crochets till you get back to that stitch marker, and then do 12 single crochets till you get back to that stitch marker, and that is going to give you your 3 rounds, and that is going to put you at round 5, and then I will come back and I will tell you what to do for round 6. And believe it or not, round 6 is actually the last round for the nose. It is a very small little ball here. Go ahead and stuff that little tail down in there if you haven't done that already. Add it to your stuffing. And then if you would like to, you can begin to stuff your nose, or you can wait until after this next round. It's up to you. The hole will be getting really small, just so you know. But you're just going to be doing 6 decreases. So you're just going to decrease in every stitch all the way around. You have 12 stitches right now from your, little repeat for rounds 3 through 5. And you can do your 6 decreases. That's going to bring you down to 6 stitches. And then you can stuff it then if you'd like to. You'll probably need like a polyfill stick or something. You might be able to use your fingers. It just depends, on how big your fingers are, how big your crochet is. But you will go ahead and stuff that, and then we're not actually going to close this circle up. You can close it up if you would prefer to, because I have shown you how to do that a few times at this point, but I didn't close mine up because when I go to sew my nose onto the beard later, it's actually easier if it's not closed up, in my opinion. So I just went ahead and left it with those 6 stitches, and I sewed those 6 stitches right onto the beard. But here's me stuffing it, and I actually was able to fit my finger into it for stuffing this, but it is a small hole, and I kind of stopped, you'll notice I still have a few stitches, and I sort of stuffed it as I went because I was like, yeah, this hole's going to get pretty small. So I kind of stuffed it in the midst of doing round 6, but it's totally up to you when you stuff it. It really does not take much polyfill. This absolutely could be a good one to stuff with yarn scraps. It is so small. Honestly, you could probably get away without stuffing it at all if you wanted to. But, of course, I wanted a little stuffing in there. Got to give it its nice shapely nose. So go ahead and finish doing that. Finish your decreases here. Make sure you get your stuffing in there. And then make sure you leave yourself a long enough tail to sew your nose onto your beard. I will show you how to do that when we get to it. But for now, just finish this off and then we'll be ready to move on. And next up for our pieces, we are going to be making our hat. So go ahead and grab whatever color yarn you would like to use for your hat and grab your crochet hook. We are going to start off with, can you guess? A magic circle. So go ahead and get yourself a magic circle going here. And once you've got that magic circle going, we are going to be starting with 6 single crochets in our magic circle. So you have probably got this part down pat now since we have done it several times. But go ahead and work over that yarn tail and over the side of your magic circle. Place those 6 single crochets into there. So the beginning of this project is going to be a little tight because you're going to be working with a small amount of stitches for a few minutes, but it will, grow and not be such a small piece to work with pretty quickly. So just kind of hang in there. I know it'll be a little bit of a pain in the butt as you're working with these small amount of stitches, but go ahead and pull on that magic circle tail. Don't pull it super tight yet. Just pull it, close gently, and you're going to go ahead and single crochet into that first stitch. So this time you're only single crocheting into that first stitch. You're not going to be increasing. So just place your 1 single crochet into that stitch. We are going to single crochet into every stitch around. So we are actually only going to be doing 6 single crochets for round 2. I didn't put a stitch marker in because this is such a small little piece that we're working with. My stitch marker would have just been in the way for me. So I just kept count of my 6 single crochets as I went. It's not a whole, lot. It's not a big number to keep count of. It just seemed easier to me than putting a stitch marker in. Then I went ahead and tugged on that tail, closed it up nicely, and then what you want to do is kind of push your finger into your crochet work, sort of like you're putting a little hat, like your crochet is a little hat for your finger, so that you can push it up so that magic circle tail will be on the inside of your work as it starts to cup. And then go ahead and put a single crochet into that first stitch for round 3. You can go ahead and put your stitch marker in there now since we've got it. It'll be getting a little bit bigger. And then we're going to do an increase into the next stitch. So that's going to be the repeat for this round. It's just going to be single crochet, increase. And you're actually going to do that 3 times. So single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. And that will bring you back to the stitch marker. You will have 6 stitches at the beginning of this round. And then by the end of it, you will have 9. So you're just repeating this 3 times. So this is a little bit different than the other pieces that we have worked so far. Once you get back to that stitch marker and you've got those 9 single crochets, you can go ahead and remove your stitch marker, put that first single crochet of your round in there, and then replace your stitch marker. For round 4, we are going to be doing just single crochets. So you have 9 stitches all the way around, and you will have 9 stitches at the end of this round because we're just single crocheting into every stitch. Your magic circle tail might be kind of in your way here. If you would like to, you can actually crochet over it, which is what I decided to do just to kind of get it out of my way. I won't be able to stuff it into here until further into the project. And then also the hat is not going to be stuffed with polyfill. So rather than have to try to weave in my tail later, I just figured it's easier to just work over it. So I'm just holding it with my work and crocheting my stitches over top of it. So it kind of hides it there. And I don't feel the need to weave it in any more than that. This isn't something that's going to get thrown in the washing machine or anything like that. So I'm confident that just working over the tail is a good enough method of weaving it in for this project. But at the end of round 9, at the end of round 4, you should have 9 single crochets. And once you've got those 9 single crochets, it should be looking a little something like this, starting to get that hat point look to it. Go ahead and remove your stitch marker and place a single crochet into that first stitch, and then you can replace your stitch marker. We are going to be doing 2 single crochets and then an increase for this round. So you've got your 1 single crochet that you just put your stitch marker in, and then you're going to place a second single crochet, and then you are going to make an increase, which is 2 single crochets into that same stitch. That's going to be the repeat for the round. You're just going to be repeating it 3 times. So 2 single crochets and then an increase, 2 single crochets and then an increase, 2 single crochets and then an increase. That's going to take us from 9 stitches to 12 stitches. So when you get to the end of this round, you should have 12 stitches. You should also be ending on an increase. So that last stitch here, you should be having 2 single crochets inside of. And that is round 5. Now you can go ahead and pop out that stitch marker and place a single crochet. Round 6 is just going to be single crochets. So you can go ahead and place that stitch marker in and then just crochet a single stitch, a single crochet into every stitch all the way around. That's going to be 12 single crochets, by the way, and then that will be it for round 6. So you're not increasing or decreasing. You're not getting any different stitch counts or anything like that. All right, so that is round 6, and you will have your 12 single crochets. For round 7, you can go ahead and pop out that stitch marker and place a single crochet into that first stitch. We are going to be doing 3 single crochets and then an increase for this round. So you are going to do single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, increase. You're going to repeat that 3 times. That is going to take you from the 12 stitches that we had to 15 stitches. So at the end of this round, you should have 15 stitches and you should be ending on an increase. And once you've got that 15 stitches done, we are going to actually have 15 stitches again for the next round because we are just doing single crochets. So go ahead and pop out your stitch marker, get that first stitch into there and replace your stitch marker. And then for round 8 here, we are just going to single crochet all the way around. So you're doing 15 single crochets and then you will be back at your stitch marker. And once you've got those 15 single crochets for round 8, we are ready to move on to round 9. So you can go ahead and pop your stitch marker out and get that first single crochet for round 9 into there. For round 9, we are going to be doing 4 single crochets and then an increase this time. So go ahead and place a single crochet into that first stitch and then replace your stitch marker. We're going to be doing single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, and then an increase. That's going to be the repeat for the round, so you are going to do that 3 times, and that is going to take you from 15 stitches all the way around to 18 stitches all the way around. So when you get to the end of this round, you will be ending on an increase, and you should have 18 stitches. Then you're ready to move on to round 10 where you will just be doing single crochets. So go ahead and pop that stitch marker out, get that first one in and then put it back and just single crochet around. At the end of round 10, you will have your 18 stitches. We're going to go ahead and move on. So pop out that stitch marker and get that single crochet in there. You are going to be doing for round 11, 5 single crochets and then an increase, and that is going to be your repeat. So we've got that first stitch. We're going to be doing our second single crochet, our third single crochet, fourth single crochet, and fifth single crochet. Then we're doing an increase. So like I said, repeat that until you get back to your stitch marker. That's going to be 3 times. And that is going to take you from 18 stitches to 21 stitches all the way around. So at the end of that round, you should have 21 stitches, and we are going to move on to round 12. For round 12, we are going to be doing 6 single crochets and then an increase. So go ahead and put your first single crochet in there and then replace that stitch marker. And then we are going to be doing, like I said, a total of 6 single crochets. So you've got your first one here. Go ahead and do 5 more single crochets and then an increase. That's going to be the repeat for the round. So you are just going to do 6 single crochets, increase, 6 single crochets, increase, and 6 single crochets, increase. That'll put you back at your stitch marker. You'll be ending on an increase, and you will have 24 stitches all the way around. And then we are ready to move on to round 13, where we're just going to be doing single crochets. So you are going to single crochet in every stitch around here, and that is going to be 24 single crochets. Nothing fancy, no increases, nothing like that, just single crocheting till you get back to that stitch marker. And moving on to round 14, you are going to be doing 3 single crochets and an increase, and this time you're going to repeat it 6 times. So for the rest of the hat, we've been repeating it 3 times. This time we're going to be doing a little bit of a sharper increase. You're going to repeat it 6 times. So you're going to put that first stitch in there, replace your stitch marker. That's going to be your first single crochet of the round. Go ahead and do a second single crochet, then a third single crochet, and then your increase. That's going to be the repeat for the round. So you're doing 3 single crochets, increase, 3 single crochets, increase. You're going to do that all the way around, and it's going to take you from 24 stitches to 30 stitches. So when you get back to that stitch marker, you should have 30 stitches, and you should be ending on an increase. This next round is just going to be single crochets, but we're working them in the front loops only. So remember that front loop only is that loop that's closest to you. We're not working under both like you normally would. So just do a front loop only single crochet, pop that stitch marker back in there, and then you're just going to do front loop only single crochets all the way around. And that's going to leave you a nice little ridge on the inside of your work that we will use later when we attach our beard onto our hat. So go ahead, single crochet 30 times in the front loops only, and that'll bring you back to your stitch marker. And when you finish that round, it should be looking a little something like this. You'll have those nice ridges on the inside of there. We're just going to keep working like normal. We're not going to go work in those back loops or anything. You're going to go ahead and place a single crochet and replace your stitch marker. And then we are going to be doing 4 single crochets in total and then an increase. So go ahead and do that. That's going to be the repeat for the round. So you're going to do 4 single crochets and then an increase, 4 single crochets and then an increase. You're going to be repeating it 6 times, and it's going to take you from 30 stitches all the way around to 36. So when you get to that stitch marker, you should be ending in that final stitch on an increase, and you will have 36 stitches. And you are almost done. So once you have got done with that round, that was round 16, you'll have 36 stitches. We are just going to be doing 36 single crochets for this next round. So go ahead and single crochet all the way around till you've done your 36 stitches. That's going to be from your stitch marker all the way around back to your stitch marker. And that is going to be the last round that you have to do. All right, and once you have worked your way all the way around, you've got those 36 single crochets, go ahead and pop out your stitch marker. We're just going to throw a couple of slip stitches in here, 1 or 2 slip stitches, up to you, just to finish off our hat. And then you are finished. You can do a chain if you'd like to. I like to do a chain to tie off just because it makes a little knot at the end. But you can cut your yarn, pull up on your crochet hook, and just weave in your yarn tail here. You're not going to need this yarn tail for anything, so go ahead and just weave it in. I will show you real quick how to weave it in, but basically just anyway. There's no set way that you have to weave it in. The whole point is just to hide the tail so that it's not hanging down, being ugly. So go ahead and weave that in, and you are finished with your hat. And finally, we are moving on to our beard. So go ahead and grab whatever color you would like to use for your beard. You can choose to single strand this with the same size that you've been using, same size hook, or if you would like to, you can actually double strand this and use like a 5mm if you're using a worsted weight, make it a bigger, kind of fluffier beard. That's totally up to you. But go ahead and start with a slip knot on your hook. And from there, you are going to chain 9. So we are chaining 9. On that last one, we will turn and we'll go back down and single crochet into our chains. So that last chain is actually just there to be like a turn chain. We're actually only going to be doing 8 single crochets. So you're going to skip that last chain that you made, go into the second one, and do a single crochet. You're going to single crochet all the way down into the rest of the chains, which will be 8 single crochets. So just single crochet your way down the chain. You'll have 8 single crochets there. And then you are going to chain 1 and turn your work. Now for the beard, we're just going to do normal decreases, not invisible decreases. So go ahead and do a normal decrease here. I'm showing you how to do it. You just go through each of them, pull a loop up, and then go through all of the loops. Then you're going to place 4 single crochets, and then we are going to place another decrease. So you got your 4 single crochets and another decrease. And that will give you 6 stitches for that row. Then you're going to go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work. For the next round, or the next row, sorry, you are going to do a decrease, and then you're going to do 2 single crochets. And then you will do another decrease. Once you've done that, you're going to go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work again. And you will currently have 4 stitches. For this next row, we are going to do a single crochet, and then we're going to do a decrease. And then we are going to do another single crochet. That's going to give us 3 stitches in this row, and we are going to chain 1 and turn our work. Then we're going to do just 3 single crochets all the way across there, and chain 1 and turn our work again. And then finally, we're going to do a decrease and then a single crochet. Then we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now we're going to create the border around the beard, and we're going to do that just by single crocheting all the way around it. Basically, you're going to single crochet all the way around it. It's not really like in stitches per se. You're just going to kind of feel it out. But in the corners, you're going to put 3 single crochets. That way you can make nice rounded corners. Other than that, just kind of place your single crochets wherever they feel natural to you. Just kind of sticking them in there so that you can create a border all the way around your beard. This is going to make the edges of your beard look nicer. And you're literally just going to single crochet all the way around. And like I said, when you get to the corners, do 3 single crochets in the corners so that you can curve them around nicely. You're going to keep going until you get back to where we started, and then you're going to slip stitch to end your row. And as we get to the end here, we're just slip stitching to the first stitch that we had made. And then we can pull up some yarn. You're going to want like a decent amount of yarn here for sewing with. So give yourself, like a good, I don't know, I did like 20 inches probably. And then pull up on your crochet hook so that you can get that loop off of there. The first thing that you're going to want to do is weave your tail up to the top corner of your beard. So go ahead and grab that darning needle and thread your yarn onto it. And then pick a side to weave your yarn up and come out in the corner. The reason that we're doing this is so that we can sew the beard onto our, like that back loop only round that we left on the hat, that little ridge. We're gonna hold the beard to that round and sew it together. Don't worry, I'll show you how. But we need our yarn tail to be up in the top. So go ahead and weave it up to the top. Once you get it up there into the corner, we will be ready to attach the beard and the hat together. And now we are on to the assembly process. So go ahead and grab your beard and your hat. I still have my darning needle threaded onto my beard. If you don't, go ahead and attach it back on. But we are going to be attaching our beard to this back loop only row that we did on our hat. So all you're going to do is pick which side of the beard you want to face forward, facing outwards on your hat. And then you're just going to line them up and kind of flip the brim of your hat up and hold your beard to this little back loop only round. And we're doing this so that we can sew them together. So you can sew it together however you like. I chose to use the back loops of my beard and attach those with the back loop onlys that I'm attaching to on the hat. So you'll see that I'm not grabbing both loops. I'm not going through the whole stitch. I'm just going through that back loop on the beard. And I just worked my way down, nothing fancy, just, I'm not even sure what this stitch would be called. But just going back, you know, back and forth all the way down. Well, I guess not back and forth, but, you know, going, I keep going in and out. I don't know, I guess back and forth. I don't know. I don't know sewing terminology, guys. I'm just showing you the way that I did it. But I'm just going through those back loop onlys and attaching them to the back loop onlys that are on this hat. And I just did that all the way down, held them together until I had attached this whole top row of the beard to the hat. And then once I had my beard all attached on, I am ready to attach on my nose. So I just went ahead and kind of wove my yarn tail for the beard in. That way I could cut it off. You can weave it in as little or as much as you want to. I've already shown you how to weave in tails, but there's what my beard looks like. So the next step is to attach our nose. You're literally just gonna hold it basically right up under the hat and center it in the beard. Go ahead and thread your yarn onto your needle, and you're just going to sew this on. I just held it center of the beard, right up to the brim of the hat. It's up to you the way that you would like to sew it on. If you would like to attach the hat to the top of the nose at all. I have done it both ways. It looks good both ways. It's really just a matter of preference. I do go all the way around those like 6 stitches that we had left on the back of the nose to sew it on to the beard. Just working, you know, in a little circle, sewing it on. And then I did just do a little bit of stitching to attach the hat to the nose. I just like the way that that looks personally. But like I said, it is totally up to you. All right, and once you have finished your nose and your beard, the next step is to attach your balls onto your peen. You can either do that by sewing them on, or you can hot glue them on. I'm not going to walk you through sewing them on, as I've already shown you how to sew things on a bajillion times at this point. But I recommend just kind of sitting your peen down so that you can get a good feel for where you want them for it to sit up, and then choosing where you want to attach them. And there you have it. You have finished making your PP gnome. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope that you found it fun and found it easy to follow along. I would love to see how your PP gnome came out, but make sure you hit that subscribe button. Maybe leave a like or a comment if you are so inclined. And thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I will see you again on the next video. Bye, guys.